Do the Rams have a shot against Philly? I don't know, but I think they do. This is RamView. Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the October 4th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Well, we're here. We're ready to talk about some stuff. Happy to be here. And one of the things I wanted to touch on first was we said Philly would be 4-0 when they got to town. We said the Rams would be 1-3 when that happened. And so let's take a look at this Rams team real quick right now. A little bit of a recap before we start breaking down the game. The Rams are completely where we did not expect them to be, very easily, without some mental errors on the field by the young players, and honestly, some poor decisions made by the coaching staff. The Rams could be 4-0. They really could be. A couple of mental errors by those young people. Kyren Williams tipping the ball in the air, 2-2, not finishing the route against Frisco, and the Rams very easily could have won that game, even with the great Christian McCaffrey. Also, against that Monday night game against Cincy, still just is rolling around in my gut because that was such a winnable game, and those are the kind of games that you look back on when you got 9 wins and you need that 10th to get a wild card spot. Philly's 4-0, but not as dominant as we thought they would be. Philly's been struggling. They easily could have lost to the Patriots, and Patriots aren't a good team. They easily could have lost last week against the Taxkins, and the Taxkins are a solid team. So it's really interesting because you got to figure Philly's a Super Bowl contender. Buffalo's a Super Bowl contender. Buffalo goes into DC, wins 37-3. The Taxkins come to Philly, and they nearly pull off the upset. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Philly is not as – they are vulnerable, where I didn't think they would be vulnerable. Looking again at some Rams stuff, just hearing buzz. My long drive this weekend gave me a chance to catch up and reacquaint myself with some of the other talk shows and different podcasts. And I was just picking up on people were down on Tutu Atwell because he had 5 catches for 24 yards. Tutu Atwell had 5 catches, right? He only had 8 targets, which, not only 8, but 8 targets. Nakua got 10 targets. Higbee 9, more than he had all year. Kyren Williams carried the ball 25 times, caught 3 passes, and I believe Ronnie Rivers had 9 carries. There just wasn't opportunity for Atwell. To me, it shows a lot of distribution of the ball by McVay and Stafford. And I don't know why people are saying, well, he took a dip this week. Did you see a key drop downfield? Did you see something I didn't see? Coming after Atwell is, to me, similar to those coming after Noteboom right now because the PFF grades didn't align with what everyone thinks they should be. But you saw the game. The Colts do have some people who can rush the passer, but they picked up 7 sacks against Baltimore the week before, and I think 4 the week before that. They didn't really rough up the Rams. Stafford had time until the Colt defender fell on him, and he became a sitting duck. So we know what we saw. PFF grades are really good. I totally respect PFF grades. I have a subscription, but we know what we see. I don't know if they did this week, but last week they have the Rams pass coverage. The secondary rated the worst in the NFL. Do you really think that Rams secondary is the worst in the NFL? You got to go with what you see. And Tutu Atwell has been marvelous. He has excellent hands. He has game-breaking speed, and yeah, I don't know who said it. Someone said it along the way that when Cooper Kupp comes back up to full measure, and we don't know if that's going to be against Philly this week. They've designated him to return, but the Rams have a 3-week window before they can bring him back. But when he gets to full steam, if Nakua is still healthy, boy, that is going to open a lot of stuff up for Atwell, open up stuff for him that you can't necessarily get out of Van Jefferson. So, yeah, I'm just maybe I'm hyper protective of Tutu. Yeah, AMS, I'm going to get to Randy Gregory in a minute there. There you go, Tim Burns, the Ricola. Yeah, my voice today has been kind of funny. Thank you, AMS. Yeah, I will get to Randy Gregory here in a second. The other one I wanted to talk about was Aaron Donald. You know, you go back and you watch that game and you saw how the Rams moved him along the front. If Bobby Brown could be consistent the way he played Sunday against the Colts, if Jonah Williams can keep doing what he is doing, he's performing like a top 30 defensive interior defender, which I know that sounds crazy, top 30, but this is an undrafted free agent that the Rams have had around for 3 years, and we're getting some dividends out of it. If Kobe Turner can continue to develop, then I believe that gives Raheem Morris some flexibility to be more creative with Aaron Donald. And wouldn't it, at this stage of his career, be kind of cool to see Aaron Donald do more things along in that front seven? They lined him wide. You can call it defensive end, you can call it edge. But here's the interesting thing. Someone brought it up and I went and looked at it. Nick Bosa has 10 hurries and 1 sack. Donald has 22 hurries and 3 sacks. TJ Watt has 22 hurries and 6 sacks. But of course, he didn't get a sack this week against Houston. I really want to see the Rams exploit this creative approach with Donald because we're seeing those other guys develop. And if they can develop, then you can do some unique things with Aaron Donald. And so I'm excited about that. Also, they designated for return Cooper Kupp and Oshwan Mathis, the linebacker who basically missed everything. We know about Kupp, and we just talked about what that would mean. McVay is high on Mathis, 6th round pick. He's 6'5", and you don't want to get too amped up because the guy didn't play anything preseason or whatever. But remember, Michael Hoyt's an undrafted free agent. If Oshwan Mathis is healthy and he's ready, he could see the field sooner than we think. I think it's clear that Nick Hampton's not ready, and Van Valkenburg has limitations. He's a motor guy. But I'm interested to see what they can get and develop out of Oshwan Mathis, because I think people have forgotten about him. One of the things that I wouldn't be surprised about is if Alaric Jackson is ready to play, to see Joe Noteboom sit this week and heal up. 4 games in, he hasn't missed a contest, but he's been dealing with a shoulder against Frisco, a knee against Cincy, and they talked about him having a groin injury in Indy. I'd like to see Kevin Dodson get another week at right guard, especially going against those Bubbas along the Philly front. And if Alaric Jackson is ready, then you give a Noteboom the week off. Let him heal up. Let him rest up. Hey, Joe Noteboom is not Ty Neske. Joe Noteboom is not Ode Abuche. Joe Noteboom is not Matt Skura. Joe Noteboom is not Jeremiah Colon. Joe Noteboom is a legitimate NFL offensive lineman. Is he great? I don't know. Are we paying him too much? Maybe if he's going to play guard. But don't put Joe Noteboom out to pasture. But maybe sit him down this week and let him get some rest. Keep him in uniform, but just don't start him. And let's go another week with Dotson. I like his size going against Philly. Around the NFL, it's already week 5. Can you believe it? Everyone's all worked up when it's the offseason. It's just, and now we're 5 weeks in. Week 5 starts tomorrow. It's unbelievable. But you look at that AFC, that dominant AFC that everyone was talking about. I don't know. The Dolphins are not overwhelming me right now. The Bills, the Chiefs, and I got to believe the Ravens and the Jaguars. If the Ravens can stay healthy, I don't think they're great, but I think Lamar Jackson always finds a way, and the Jaguars got to come to life. But I'm not real big on the Dolphins right now for some reason. I don't know. They feel temporary to me. 4 weeks in. The NFC, of course, it's Frisco, it's Philly. I like the Lions better than the Cowboys. Those would be my top 4. And then I would talk Rams, Seahawks, Texans, and Tampa. Tampa is kind of fooling around. Tampa, who has a bye this week, we know that 3-1's not real. Seahawks, Rams beat them, and I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid because of how the Seahawks hammered the Giants. But the interesting part about that is that I expected the Giants to be a contender in terms of for a wild card spot. I see one team coming out of the NFC South. The Texans, they could be a wild card contender. I don't think the Packers are going to be a wild card contender. I think they could be had. And all this bodes well for the Rams. 9 wins, yes. Oh, I'd love to see them get to 10. If they get to 10, I think they could punch their ticket. But, man, you know what? That Cincy game looms, right? Congrats to the Bolts for getting rid of J.C. Jackson, getting him out of the building. Gone to New England along with the 7th-round pick, and all the Bolts are getting back as a 6th-rounder. But the thing that will make this a winner is, one, he's gone, and the other part is you kind of want to know how much the Chargers are paying on the contract, or did New England absorb the rest of J.C. Jackson's contract? What a swing and a miss by the Bolts. Pats are expected to be without Christian Gonzalez for a while, the Oregon phenom, and of course Matthew Judon. They're expected to lose him for the season. One name that popped up in my feed was, are you still a Kyler Murray guy? It would be interesting to see if the Cards could find someone to take Kyler Murray and at least share some of that contract so they can make a clean break from Murray before drafting a quarterback next year, because they really do need to draft a quarterback next year. It's going to be interesting because everyone thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And when you see what's going on in Chicago, it's clear that they're not. Heck, Carolina could be in line for a top 5 pick. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe it's probably not going to be Caleb Williams, but there could be somebody out there, unless you're still a Kyler Murray guy. I'm not a Kyler Murray guy. I haven't been a Kyler Murray guy for a long time. Splash player, makes a big splash, but not necessarily a great player consistently. The other question that came up was, what was Pittsburgh thinking? Because I guess Tomlin, Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh head coach, this is for Steeler fan Rob in Missouri, had a meltdown or something, sharing about his offensive line, and it just got me thinking, what were the Steelers thinking when they traded Kevin Dotson to give him up for just some pick swaps, right? The Rams get Dotson, they give up 4th and 5th round picks, and the Steelers send to the Rams 5th and 6th round picks. I'm not saying Kevin Dotson is John Hanna. I'm not saying he's John Hanna, but a healthy, competent offensive lineman is gold, baby. And I just don't understand why Pittsburgh would give up on him so fast. Going to AMS, Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory was put on the street. The 30-year-old was put on the street by the Broncos, edge rusher. 10 career games with the Broncos, 6 starts, 3 sacks, 28 rocks. He's going to make $28 million, the last of his guaranteed, of the part of it that was guaranteed out of the $70 million in 5 years they signed him for when he left Dallas last year. If you remember that story, is that Jerry Jones really stuck by Randy Gregory with all of his issues coming out and all of his issues with drugs going forward. And people thought that Randy Gregory is going to want to stay in Dallas because of Jerry Jones. And he took the dough and he went to Denver. And he stunk with Denver, and Denver basically doesn't even want him around. And that tells you how bad he is because the team hasn't wanted him. So AMS, if you're asking me if you think the Rams should give him a shot, I'm for anybody getting a shot. My only thing would be I don't want to pay any money for him. I mean, he comes in, he works for dirt cheap money, nothing else. He's 30 years old. And the second he thinks he's the thermostat, which means he's going to set the temperature in the room, you kick him to the curb. And I really don't want him taking any snaps away from anybody else because he's not showing he can do anything. He's been in the NFL since 2015. He's got 19 and a half career sacks. He's made a ton of bread. I think he's been overrated most of his career. And I think if he didn't have a star on his head, he would he would have been gone a long time ago. Randy Gregory is 240 and Heck is 315. Gregory would be much better in coverage. I don't know if I want either of them in coverage. I agree. I think they're asking too much with Michael Hoyt by dropping him back so often in coverage. I understand that comes with the position, but those are just things Michael Hoyt cannot do. And so we'll go from there. I'm not high on Randy Gregory being signed, but we've seen the Rams do things before. I'd let him stew out there. I'd let him stew for a while. And if nobody signs him and we're getting like 10 weeks in and he's desperate because he realizes what he may have lost, that he needs a second chance in the NFL, then I'd get him, because then he might be motivated. He's got dough right now. I don't know if he's motivated. Before we break for commercial, Aaron Rodgers had the comment about Travis Kelce calling him, was he Travis Pfizer or Mr. Pfizer? I thought it was funny. I know some people got all uptight and everything about it, but Travis Kelce signed to do the Pfizer commercials. Now, you could be pro or you could be con about vaccines and all that kind of stuff, but what you can't deny is that they are not controversial. So if you're going to do something controversial, people are going to be free to take shots. And Aaron Rodgers took a shot because everyone took shots at Aaron Rodgers, right? And I don't know if Rodgers is being funny, but you're seeing so much Kelce exposure right now with all of his commercials and everything. And of course, the situation he's in his love life. So I just thought hearing him called Mr. Pfizer was funny. And I don't know why everyone, and I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but I don't know, everyone was getting so uptight about it. So, all right, cool. I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView. And I am happy to be here. I got some weird thing going on in my throat today. But happy to be here. I was a sports writer for 21 years, wrote for Mid Valley Sports, one of the founders there. I still do sports, still write sports a little bit, but mostly now I do RamView and I write books, and my books can be found on Amazon. I've written a couple of high school football novels. I do have a short story coming out very soon, probably within a week, about game day in the Ram Cave. And it's a short story, fictional, and I'm looking forward to releasing that real soon. I do all this because it supports me in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. We are right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, and you can find us all across social media on our website, burbankfaithvirtual.com, as well as Burbank Faith Virtual on Facebook, and you'll find us on Twitter and Instagram and in those places. So thank you so much for your support. Rams injury update. Stafford, same. Nothing else broke so far. Stafford bruised hip. Said looks like he's going to play. Kyren Williams the same. Tyler Higbee thumb. Joe Noteboom, we talked about the strained groin, and we talked about Alaric Jackson, and he's not far from returning. And it would be interesting. Again, I propose that if Alaric Jackson can go and he's healthy, keep Joe Noteboom in uniform, but give him the day off and let Kevin Dotson run at guard and let Noteboom just kind of heal up a little bit. Looking at college football this weekend, I did see a few games. I got my top 10. This is my top 10 based on what I've seen. So I have not seen Georgia. I have not seen Michigan. Seeing Michigan play UNLV is not high on my list, that kind of stuff. And I only saw highlights of Auburn and Georgia. I can't understand why it was that close, but we'll go from there. So the top 10 based on what I've seen, I've moved Texas to number 1. Quinn Ewers playing well. I moved Oregon to number 2 because I think Oregon is actually a little bit better team than Washington and USC right now. And then Washington number 3 because I thought they struggled. I would have put them number 2, but they struggled a little bit with Arizona. And that's something USC should think about at number 4. That game was 48-40, 48-41 against the Buffaloes. And Lincoln Riley didn't listen to me. I said, get Marshawn Lloyd 20 to 25 carries. He only had 13. I think Lincoln Riley is going to outsmart himself when it comes to winning a national title. I left Ohio State at number 5. They're 4-0. Alabama, 6th. I like Jalen Milroe. Well, I don't like him like I'm ready to draft him tomorrow. But really, out of all the Alabama quarterbacks, he's the one that you got to develop. He's a sophomore, and sometimes you have to develop a quarterback. You just can't get ready-made. I moved Washington State for fun because, hey, they're the team I saw. I moved them up to number 7. They were idle this week, and Cameron Ward at quarterback. Oregon State with that big win over Utah, I moved them to number 8. Ole Miss, I moved them to number 9 because I'm a big Jackson Dart fan. I do like Jackson Dart. And I put Notre Dame back in the top 10 because I like Sam Hartman. The rest, I've seen Florida State. I don't know why people love Florida State. I'm not into Florida State. They needed help to beat LSU. They needed a guy that's never kicked a college field goal before in Clemson to get them that win. I'm just not sold on Florida State. North Carolina, they're kind of doing it with mirrors right now. Drake May has not had a great start. Utah has to get Cam Rising back. I think they floated this as long as they could. They're doing the best they can, but right now it's time to get Cam Rising back. Duke, Riley Leonard went down late with an ankle injury. I do not know his status, but I thought they were interesting to watch. And Fresno State, right? Fresno State's 5-0. So good for Fresno State. All right, moving right along here. Rams, Eagles. Eagles are 4-0. Rams are 2-2. This is Sunday's game at SoFi. All time, the Eagles lead the series 21-18-1. They lead the playoffs 2-1. And so the Rams did get that big win in Philly back in '89. Remember that win? I remember that win. So Jalen Hurts, he's playing well enough. He's throwing the ball pretty well, but they're just not doing much right now. They're just not playing well. Their secondary is the thing to watch. James Bradbury's been okay. Avonte Maddox is gone, and Darius Slay is really struggling. Their safeties are okay, but if Stafford could have time, if Cooper Kupp has 75% of himself along with Puka and Atwell, the Rams could do some damage in that secondary. The whole thing is keeping that Philly pass rush out. And they have some big dudes on that front 7. You still got Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, who seems like they've been there since, Mike McCormick coached the team. They've been there forever. And Jalen Carter is playing really well. Of course, they still got Jordan Davis. I call the Eagles, I call them the North Georgia Eagles, because there's so many former Eagles, former Georgia Bulldogs on the roster. They do have players on the edge. They got Josh Sweat. This is a good team. They beat the Pats, not very good. They beat the Vikings, not very good. They beat the Bucks, who are okay, and they beat the Texans, who are okay too. So they really haven't been tested, and they're not supposed to be tested by the Rams. But hey, I think they could be. I think they're going to be 5-0 when they leave. I'm still leaning they're going to win. Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, a great offensive line, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, and Jordan Mailata, that undrafted guy. Well, he was drafted, but he has no college experience. They got him 7th round, 233 overall in 2018. He goes 6'8", 365, and right now he's one of the top left tackles in the NFL. They're beasts. And so Rams got their hands full, but if Philly hasn't come out and played the way they're supposed to play, anything could happen, which is what I'm hearing left and right this year. Let me get to On the State, and I'll answer that last question that just popped up in the thread. So I'll give you a score to the Ram game on Friday. Hey, again, I'm proud to say I said 49ers, 30-21. It was 49ers 30-23 over the Rams. I said Rams 28-24 over the Colts. It was 29-23 over the Colts. So I'm getting there. Okay, week 3, buys for the Browns, Chargers. Thank goodness for them. Seahawks and Buccaneers. And then Thursday, we open with tomorrow night, Bears going to D.C. All tax skins. I'm going with Riverboat Ron and Sam Howell, 37-14. There, lock it in. There you go. Sunday, you got the Jaguars, Bills in London. Sick of the London games. Put a league in there, fund it like the NBA funds the WNBA, or China funds the WNBA. Make the EU fund the NFL in Europe, and put some legitimate teams in there. And I'm sick of our NFL teams going over there, or just transfer the Jaguars over there. I hate that trip across the pond. I think it has a long-term effect on teams throughout the season. So I'm going with the Bills, of course, in this game. I think the Jaguars, we got to find out what's up with them. Texans, Falcons. Texans are playing really good ball right now. Falcons aren't. Texans have found their quarterback. Atlanta still needs to find theirs. So I'm going with the Texans. Panthers, Lions. Hey, I'm going with the Lions. I think very easily the Panthers season's going to spin out of control here. And I don't think it's about finding a wide receiver for Bryce Young. I think there's other issues, but I also think Bryce Young just isn't ready. Titans, Colts. I'm going with Anthony Richardson. He's Cam Newton with the discipline. He's Cam Newton with the ability to be coached and the ability to learn and the ability to develop. And so I'm happy for the Colts right now, and I think they should beat the Titans. I think the Titans. I don't know. It's just hard for me to get behind the Titans. Something about Tannehill that just, I don't know, turns me off. Giants, Dolphins. Yeah, okay. Dolphins. Saints, Patriots. Saints. Ravens, Steelers. Now, this is must-watch TV, right? This was a game that I got to watch this game. This is the best game to watch because it was a Sunday night game, and you had Faith Hill doing the opening. It was a cold night in Baltimore. You got Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu. You got Harrison and you got Ray Lewis. I mean, this was like rollerball in the NFL, right? No rules. It was just thundered. It was awesome. But right now, the Steelers might have that defense, but they don't have that offense. And so, yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. I know that seems really weird. Start of the season, I would have been all over Pittsburgh. But by week 4 now, going into week 5, I'm all done with Pittsburgh. Bengals. I'd like to hear Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, hear his opinion on that Steeler game against the Ravens. Bengals, Cardinals. I'm going with the Cardinals in Phoenix just because I was just there. I'm going to go with the Valley of the Sun. Jets, Broncos. That one's a little interesting because everyone thinks the Broncos have a little momentum right now, but let's remember who they beat. They beat the Bears, and they needed a big turnover, a scoop and score to make that happen. Or was it a pick? I think it was a pick. Whatever it was. They needed a big turnover and a score by their defense to pull that off. I'm going to stick with the Jets and their momentum. Chiefs, Vikings, rehash of Super Bowl 4. I don't know if the Chiefs have 65 toss power trap in their playbook anymore, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Vikings unless there's just too much Taylor Swift. We'll see. Sunday night, Cowboys, 49ers. That one's big, right? That one's really big. I like the 49ers at Levi. It's hard to trust the Cowboys. What I'm hoping, though, is that they'll just rough each other up. Because I think the Rams get the Cowboys, week 7, week 8. And I just want them roughed up. Yeah. So, yeah, 49ers. I'm surprised some people are doubting Purdy. And when you compare Purdy to Dak Prescott, wouldn't you take Brock Purdy? I've seen enough of Dak Prescott. Packers, Raiders. Wow, that's a pretty brutal game in Las Vegas on Monday night. I'll make that prediction then, but I think I'm going to lean Packers in that one. Okay. Let's get to this real quick here. Born on this date was Bill Wade. He was the Rams quarterback from Vanderbilt. First overall pick in 1952. He was born on this date in 1930. Spent his first 2 years in the military. Didn't come to the Rams till 54 and was chiefly a backup for Brent Brocklin. Became a starter in 58 after Brocklin was sent to Philly. And he went to the Pro Bowl that year, threw 18 touchdown passes. Rams were 8-4, but they missed the playoffs. Rams had poor seasons in 59 and 60. He shared time with Frank Ryan, and then he asked for a trade, got sent to the Bears, and was their starter through 64, and won the 1963 NFL title. Right. You got Sid Luckman, you got Jim McMahon winning titles, but you never hear about Bill Waddy. So I thought that would be interesting to mention him today. Career-wise, 124 touchdown passes, 18,000 yards. That's a lot for that age. Rams games played on this day. The only one that really merits is on this day in 1970, the Rams beat the Chargers in their first ever matchup. And interesting enough, it was John Hadle threw 4 picks that day and was sacked 4 times. His backup, Marty Domrese, came in and was sacked 6 times as the Rams routed. George Allen's team improved to 3-0 as they routed the Chargers 37-10. So I think we got what we want to get in there. And let's see. Let's see what people have asked. AMS, my most disappointing game in Rams history was a Monday night game in Buffalo. What was your worst Rams game? Well, AMS, when I was 11, I think I was 11, I went to the NFC title game at the Coliseum, Rams Cowboys. Rams had just beaten the Cardinals. What was that, 35-21, I think, a week before. Looked like we were going to the Super Bowl. And we got routed 37-7. A couple of those Preston Pearson touchdowns, that first one, that one would have been overturned, but that was the most miserable day, because I'll tell you this, what else we did that day is we didn't drive to the Coliseum. We took the bus to the Coliseum. And from where I grew up in the SGV in San Gabriel Valley in El Monte, we had to go to the El Monte bus station, go downtown to the bus station there, catch a transfer, and get out to the Coliseum. Can I tell you how miserable that ride was going home? It was horrific. It was just awful. Red Eye Jedi Gaming. We had a little taste of mobile quarterback against the Colts, so I think we'll put up a fight. No, I agree, Red Eye. I do. I wrote this game off as an absolute, hands down loss for the Rams when I saw it in the spring. Rams aren't winning this one. That's why I focused on got to beat the Colts, right? And the Eagles have not played well. This Rams defense that we were really nervous about, and I remember preaching, sorry to use that term, preaching on this show that wait till the second half of the season and we're going to see it start to develop. Well, I think the defense is ahead of schedule. And so between the Philly not playing well, the defense ahead of schedule, the offensive line showing out that it's competitive. We're not saying I got, Dennis Harrow, Rich Saul, and Tom Mack on that front line right now, but we got a pretty decent offensive line. I think the game is going to be competitive, and I think the Rams have a shot. I haven't committed myself to a final score or thinking the Rams are going to win. I'm still leaning Philly, but Philly, when we went through who they've beaten and how they've struggled, they are a plum ripe for plucking, right? And so, Jalen Hurts doesn't necessarily scare me either, and so. I know who does scare me, Anthony Richardson, in about 2 years. Anthony Richardson scares me, but hopefully we won't have to see him unless it's in a Super Bowl. All right. Any other questions? I'm happy to talk about it.
It was a stone.
I want to thank you guys for clicking on. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. I know I get on at weird hours during the afternoon and stuff. I wish I could have a set hour, but this is as close as I can make it to getting on at a certain time. So anytime you folks click on and follow us, we really appreciate it. If you could hit like and subscribe, encourage your friends to like and subscribe. And if you don't like, hit the like button twice or the dislike button twice. But I do thank you so much for your support. Be sure to check us out on Spotify as we get this broadcast up probably tomorrow morning on Spotify. And of course, we spread this around social media. So all your support really helps. Thank you so much for clicking on. And we will be back on Thursday to talk about Thursday night's game and the Rams. God bless. Take care.